Hi there, this is Michelle Meyrink, and you are listening to the Movie Raid Show.
It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is former actress Michelle Meyrink, who has played in such films as Real Genius, Revenge of the Nerds, also an acting instructor. Hello.
Hi there.
And what are we doing?
What am I doing right now?
Yes.
I'm making myself a cup of tea.
Make yourself a cup of tea. Awesome. Living an exciting life, aren't we? So what's going on with this acting school that you have?
Well, I started it a year ago, and I've been thinking about doing it for a while. I didn't, when I quit acting, I really quit and didn't even probably watch a movie for 10 years. I left it, and with the plan that I was going to take a 3-month break, and then that turned into 6 months, and then that turned into a year. And then I had a family, and I was busy, caught up with raising my children. They're now mostly grown, and so that gave me the time to sort of get back into acting. I wasn't planning to go back into acting, but what I did was a friend of mine asked me to do a workshop with some actors. And when I did that, my interest in acting returned, and it was a really neat experience, sitting and watching people working on it. And in that position, I started to see the benefit of acting I saw it in a new way. I hadn't really experienced it like that. And I went into it on instinct and just because I really liked it personally and I wanted to be an actor. But when I was watching people training, I saw that it, after having kind of lived suburban lifestyle for, 15 years, I saw that there was no outlet for a real expression of yourself other than in the arts, people find it in different ways. It's not that it's the only way in the arts, but it was one way. And I saw that people were able to fully express themselves in an acting class, and my respect for it grew, and my interest in it.
You ever thought of actually doing some small projects, acting-related projects to put money into the school?
Acting-related projects you mean to do some actual...
Yeah, a little, just offset stuff, just to put money in.
We plan to. That's a big plan here. I'm in Vancouver, and I was living on an island, and so came into the city, and then first established myself and my place, and started getting people around me, working with them in classes. And the place I built a little theater. And so it's a place that we can actually eventually start working on some plays with the people that I'm working with now. So that's the plan, and that will probably be in a year, maybe this year. As we move along and I start seeing people and going, I would love to do a play with this person or that person, and then you start getting ideas of what kind of play to do. And it seems like a natural step.
Yeah, it's almost like reinventing yourself, rediscovering yourself.
It really feels like that for me. It really feels very satisfying because it's a different point in my life, and I'm in control of what I do now. If I wanted to do something, now I can set it up and do it. And it's a different experience than being an actor auditioning for parts.
Yeah, there are actors
I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that. I liked acting, and I liked that exciting part when I was starting out and working in LA. That was very exciting and fun, but this is a different experience. For me, it's a little more creative.
Yeah, and there are actors that do this, but kind of either just not quite sure where they're going or what exactly they're getting themselves into. And then there are the ones that get a little bit arrogant about where they're at, get a couple good gigs, and they want to move out to Hollywood and do this and this and this. But it's either make a product or become a product.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I think that people going in with a stronger understanding of the whole thing would do better at that, of making a product and becoming a product. I think for myself, I was very naive. I just went down there, wanted to go into acting, and wanted to go into movies, and I was really happy to get a role when I would get them. And I didn't have a vision of making something or developing anything. For me, it was just the experience of acting that I enjoyed. And I left before I really hit the point of becoming a product or anything like that. I left feeling like it wasn't quite fulfilling me in the way that I wanted, and I was looking for something more, and I thought I should take some time off. And then I was on that search that a lot of people hit in their late 20s, kind of going, wait, what am I doing? What am I looking for? What do I really want to do? At this point in my life, I really like creating it right around me rather than going out to find it.
Yeah, when companies, even big companies, when it comes to making film, can also destroy your career if you don't know exactly what you're getting into. It's like, it may sound like a great deal, but you have to actually look into it before you just up and accept this money, accept this role, because you don't know what's going to happen, because it could easily just turn around and just screw you.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, at a certain point in your career, you know, for someone that their whole reputation is going to ride on that movie, it will do that. If you're someone who, you know, I was doing lead roles, but I wasn't, you know, a superstar or anything like that, so it didn't matter. If a movie bombed, it bombed, and I didn't carry it. It didn't reflect on me. If a movie did well, it was good for me, but it didn't, it wouldn't make or destroy my career. I wasn't at that point, you know, so I haven't had that experience.
Yeah, it can be hard when you come, especially at that age. I mean, of course, it's horrible for little kids, child actors. It's definitely horrible in some cases.
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen, and it's a reason for me, you know, with one of my daughters who wants to be an actor, to say, well, wait a little while, and go in as an adult.
Would you actually stray your children toward that kind of lifestyle when it comes to that, or would you actually want them to start out kind of the independent circuit first, if they decide to become actors?
Well, I would definitely, this is really like at my point where I'm at right now, so it's hard to say, because sort of, you know, in a few years I can look back and say, well, this is what I did, or I'm at that point almost right now. Where I'm at right now is encouraging my one daughter to do plays, work in theater, take classes, and get a better understanding of herself. The problem that I think with movies is fame, because it messes people up.
Yeah.
It's really, I think it's almost impossible not to get messed up by it. You just, even with the little bit that I had, I got messed up by it. And I didn't really like myself, and that was a big part for leaving. I didn't like the way that I behaved.
A lot of pressure, too.
Yeah, I guess, probably. That's the life I knew in my 20s. And you don't have that energy. You know, in your 20s, you have that energy just to go for it. So, and consequences aren't as great, don't seem as great as when you're older. It didn't have a feeling of extreme pressure for me. There is the pressure in the film of that there's a lot of money riding on it, so you can feel the pressure all around you in the directors and the producers, and there's a lot of pressure on them. So in a way you tend to take on that pressure as well, but it wasn't extremely, I didn't feel pressure in that way too much.
And a lot of actors are going toward the TV, though, when it comes to television. They go to television first, and then they start moving their way up to the film. It doesn't seem a huge pressure when it comes to television. There is pressure regardless. There's just some pressure, but it seems like very rapid, but you can still make a good product out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't do much television, so I do know that the fame of television was different than the fame of movies. And I saw TV stars, you can get people feel very familiar with them. They go anywhere, everyone recognizes them, and that was hard. But, yeah.
Well, go back to teaching acting. Do you actually learn from the students as well?
What I do in my classes pretty much is I try to set up an environment that is conducive to a person opening up to themselves completely, and providing an environment where a person can completely express themselves, encouraging them in that way. So it's a back and forth thing. I don't sit down and teach. It's really about setting up an environment that is a creative experience for people. Well, I use Meisner technique as my classes are based on Meisner technique. And so the first whole part is a person really getting to know themselves and not covering themselves up with a mask, and which, as you get older, those masks get harder to remove. Those habits that you think are your personality, and they're actually just sort of neurotic habits that have developed over time. And so Meisner technique I find really useful for people getting rid of that and working off of the behavior of the other person, and catching their own behavior, catching their natural impulses, and bouncing back and forth. Meisner technique is fantastic because it really grounds a person in that. it's a really nice way for people who've never acted before and always had some interest to come in and suddenly feel like, oh, this is what acting's all about, and it's different than I thought, and it feels really good. They don't just jump in and start pretending. They first go from a place of finding themselves completely and starting to enjoy themselves and enjoying all parts of themselves and discovering all parts of themselves and realizing that that's all okay. We all have, we're all really good people. We're all really bad people. We've got a whole range in there. And to start to be able to play with that, express it, and without the consequences of what would happen in society, you can express your anger, you can express your joy, and get to know yourself. Meisner technique is fantastic for that. So that's the process that I use. And in my classes now, I've started getting a lot of people that always wanted to act but never tried it, and thought that it was only for 20-year-olds who want to go into movies or television. But they can be, now 45, 50, 60, 70, and always thought, oh, I'd love to do that. Or I did a school play years ago, and that was a great time in my life. I wish I could try that again. There are people like that coming to my classes, and I'm finding that really enjoyable. I have classes for actors as well. Sometimes it's a little more difficult for actors because Meisner technique makes you you have to go back to the very basics. So if you've built up any bad habits, they've got to be stripped away, and sometimes that's difficult. It's a great opening for a lot of people.
Do you think that's kind of a lost art in a way, when fast forwarding in today's era?
I think what happened to me is what happens to a lot of people. I associated acting completely with Hollywood, and having this experience of especially working with people that are working all kinds of other jobs and have an interest in acting, just this little curiosity, and have tried it, and then seeing what happens. It affects people's lives when you start practicing opening up and becoming fluid with your emotions and becoming really in touch with another person, seeing clearly where they're at, starting to use your full intelligence. A lot of times we kind of minimize our intelligence in our day-to-day life, but this allows someone to use their full intelligence. And so, yeah, I think maybe it's a lost art form. It was for me anyway. This has been a complete rediscovery of acting as an art that I didn't realize what it was. I just knew for myself, I needed to do it. It was a way that I wanted to express myself in a way that I couldn't find the opportunity in my daily life. And so acting or singing or painting or some way to express myself was needed.
Yeah, so you're basically giving these upcoming actors an opportunity to have a better career, a better insight, I should say.
That would be great if that happens. I mean, people come for different reasons and get out of it get out of it different things. Usually, a common thing to happen is people come into the class and they've been working for a while. Maybe this is one scenario. People working for a while, maybe they've had a few jobs. We're in Vancouver. The jobs aren't huge for film or television, but they're up auditioning a lot. And then when they take these classes, they find out why they went into acting in the first place, and there's a rediscovery of the joy of acting. Sure, people get that in other places too, but that's definitely happened here. I think that's been very satisfying. So for actors, finding the real reason or the real satisfaction in it outside of setting goals and attaining your goals career-wise, there's a real satisfaction that transfers into your life in all kinds of ways. In that way, I see it as beneficial for actors. It's the exact same thing that happens for people that aren't actors. They find the same thing. Often they come into the class and then they find out, oh, it's different than I expected. Wait, is this real or is this acting? And our daily life is spend a lot more time acting than actually an actor on stage who's actually going through a real experience.
Actually acting rather than just pretending.
Yeah, I mean, we're limited, right? I mean, you and me here with our conversation, you have to interview, so you have to kind of box yourself into this role, and then I box myself into the role of the person being interviewed, and it's great, and we have this conversation, but it's not a full expression of yourself, right? It's different than if you were to pick up the guitar and start singing, and that's what acting is.
Yeah.
And
that's the beauty part of it is you're trying to discover what this character is. How can you incorporate yourself with this character? How can you kind of relate? You have to relate to it a little bit just so you know what this character is all about, what he or she is going to do, and how are they going to achieve whatever goal they intend to go.
Yeah, I think with characters, and that's a big part in the classes, is where you get used to more parts of yourself and broaden that and become more comfortable with parts of yourself. So when you have different characters, you can pull at those different parts of yourselves. I mean, people restrict themselves a lot into a narrow vision of themselves. Working out, I think of acting class as kind of like a gym workout, and you just expand the expression of yourself. You get more in touch with other parts of yourself that are always there, but you don't access that much. They've just been there in the background. Everyone knows this about themselves, But acting class allows that to. I mean, that's what the point of acting class is. I think is to also bring out more parts of yourself. And then when you find a character, maybe there's someone that you go, oh, I absolutely cannot play this type of person. But if you work out in a gym workout in an acting class, there will be more characters that you can play because you know yourself more and you know those parts of yourself.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and plug in anything that you want to promote, especially, of course, your school, anything or any advice that you'd like to give out for these upcoming actors, or anything you'd like to share. Any websites, anything in general.
So what I would just say is, if there's a lot of people wanting to go into acting, and wherever they are, I would say start doing something now where you're at in your own community. Find a audition for some place. Find work out in an acting class. Find one that really clicks for you, and you don't necessarily have to go somewhere else to make your life fulfilling. If that's your goal, that's fine too, and there's ways to go about that. You can be totally fulfilled where you're at right now, and you can find it in the environment you're in.
And there you go. That's former actress Michelle Meyrink, as well as acting instructor